After accepting the Gaza ceasefire, Israel decided it would instead hatch a new plot against the population of the besieged territory, continuing its military efforts, yet this time through ISIS-linked death squads, a similar tactic that they used in Syria. What began happening in Gaza is that a number of Israeli-backed proxy militias initiated operations on the orders of the Israeli military in Shin Bet, who they answer to, fighting against Gaza's security forces and armed resistance groups. There are three primary groups who Israeli officials and the Israeli media have exposed as taking direct backing and orders from them. All started as gangs, which were at first used to help manufacture mass starvation in Gaza by looting humanitarian aid trucks, seizing food, essential goods, and medical supplies, also drip-feeding that aid onto the black market for profit, where it was sold at exorbitant rates that most simply couldn't afford. Meanwhile, these aid looters were provided with protection from the Israeli military as they committed armed robberies, forced aid organizations to pay bribes, and lived lives of relative luxury, driving around in vehicles smuggled through to them by their Israeli masters, and living on the aid they stole from the people of Gaza. These gangs are composed of criminals, thieves, Salafists associated with ISIS, and drug traffickers. These groups include the so-called Popular Forces based in Rafah, the Counterterrorism Strike Force in Khan Yunis, and the People's Army Northern Forces in the north of Gaza. They have no popular support at all. They are simply Israeli-backed death squads. Yet, certain individuals affiliated with the mainstream wing of Fatah that controls the Palestinian Authority in Ramallah, as well as Israeli propagandists, are weaponizing the ongoing clashes between these groups and Palestinian security forces to claim that there is some kind of grassroots revolt against Hamas or a civil war. This is false, and by no means are the majority of Fatah supporters going along with this either. Unfortunately, these criminals who quite literally spent most of the genocide committing armed robbery, seizing aid, living under Israeli protection, and murdering civilians began hiding in some 54 to 58% of Gaza, which Israel refused to withdraw from, and began escalating their operations on Israeli orders since day one of the ceasefire agreement. These operations have included killing Hamas security forces and assassinating prominent personalities. They have also been committing armed robberies and murdering civilians. Then, when they are captured and executed for treason, propagandists try to sell this as a civil war and examples of Hamas killing its own people for no reason. See, when it comes to the topic of a Palestinian civil war, in 2007, the US government covertly armed a Fatah-led coup plot in Gaza, but it was foiled by Hamas, which led to a real and bloody escalation that represented what could actually be called a civil war between two parties with popular support, and the damage that was done back then has never fully been repaired. What we have seen more recently, civil war at all. It is an Israeli proxy force attempting to sow chaos and implement a nefarious agenda, yet Zionists are now using this as an opportunity to lie and claim that Hamas is brutally cracking down on its own people for no reason, and that this is triggering their civil war. All so that they can cover up the fact that Israel has never actually fully implemented the ceasefire agreement, but instead used its proxies to continue its mission.